Halo Fishmania, kali ini kita akan membahas tentang lemak jenuh. Apakah itu baik atau buruk? Ya, dari video yang dijelaskan oleh Dr. Jason Fang ini, spesialis ginjal ini, dia akan menguak fakta tentang apakah makan lemak jenuh itu baik dan buruk atau buruk, dan lemak jenuh seperti apa yang baik dan lemak jenuh seperti apa yang buruk. Yuk, bagi yang penasaran silakan tonton terus. Selamat datang di channel BINARAGA.NET bersama saya Jo, biasa dipanggil nama Jo, JP atau JP, yang biasa membahas tentang nutrisi, latihan, dan produk seputar fitness. Ya. Jangan khawatir, di dalam video dari Dr. Jason Fang ini sudah kita sematkan teks bahasa Indonesia karena video ini dalam bahasa Inggris. Ya, jadi Anda bisa tahu semua hal tentang lemak jenuh yang baik dan lemak jenuh yang buruk di dalam video ini.
Should you eat saturated fat? Since the 1960s, doctors have been saying that we should avoid this to prevent heart disease. But I'm going to review the surprising results of the recent evidence that shows that saturated fat does not actually cause heart disease. One of the big trends over the last few years is the ketogenic diet that has said you don't have to worry that eating too much saturated fat and total fat might cause heart disease. And surprisingly, the cardiologists agree. I'm going to review this article, which was published in the Journal of the American College of Cardiology in August of 2020. It's a state-of-the-art review, which means that all the top cardiologists, the top heart specialists, got together to discuss should we place limits on how much saturated fat we eat. And the surprising conclusion they came to is this. This is their abstract, which says that many years of studies have shown that there's actually no beneficial effects of reducing saturated fat on heart disease. Instead, they found that people who ate more fat tended to be protected against stroke. This illustration from this paper shows that the previous advice was to limit how much saturated fat you ate. But when they look at all the studies that have been done over the last 50 years, that you really have to look not just at the saturated fat in the food, but the whole food altogether to determine whether or not it's healthy or not. Most saturated fat comes from whole fat dairy, from red meat, and from dark chocolate, which are complex food matrices that tend to have a lot of saturated fat. And when you study these foods, these natural fats, it's clear that there's no increased risk of heart disease, diabetes, or stroke. So what these top heart specialists are calling for in this state-of-the-art review is that we should make recommendations not on specific nutrients, but we should base them on foods. We shouldn't be avoiding fat because we don't eat fat. We eat foods. We eat dairy, we eat meats, we eat breads. These are foods. You have to look at the whole food in context. And when you look at those, there's no reason to avoid full-fat dairy, red meat, or dark chocolate. And that's their conclusion after coming together and discussing it. It's also important to distinguish between the saturated fat in our diets and the amount of saturated fatty acids in our blood. Because when we look at the science, we see that the amount of saturated fat in our blood is more related to the amount of carbohydrate that we take through the process of de novo lipogenesis. De novo lipogenesis is where the body takes excess carbohydrates and the liver will turn that into fats for storage, and these tend to be saturated fats in the blood.
Semoga bermanfaat. Setujukah Anda bahwa hidup ini adalah pilihan dan kita bebas memilih gaya hidup yang seperti yang kita ingin jalani dan kita bebas memilih makanan yang kita konsumsi. seperti halnya makanan-makanan lemak jenuh ini. Tapi kita tidak bebas dari konsekuensinya. Ya, jadi mau yang di depan atau mau yang di belakang, ya. Dan memang kesehatan bukan yang utama, tetapi hal yang utama tidak bisa diraih tanpa kesehatan. Jadi dan memang kita tidak mungkin membayar orang melakukan push up, pull up, squat, tetapi kita yang mendapatkan ototnya. Jadi kita yang harus melakukan kepada diri kita sendiri. Saya Joko Alfu bersama BINARAGA.NET. Kami mengajak Anda membangun generasi baru yang lebih cerdas, fit, dan tangguh. Di BINARAGA.NET, kami selalu percaya bahwa setiap orang pasti bisa memiliki tubuh yang ideal dan sehat. Dengan subscribe, like, dan share video ini, Anda turut membantu membangun Indonesia sehat dan kuat. Salam jelas fitness, saya JP.